All right, it's time for my weekly video. This has been a really busy week for me. One of my external hard drives crashed, or I don't know what happened, it just won't mount, which means I don't have access to the files. I have never had an external hard drive crash on me before, and I guess I just never expected it to happen. Uh, I have got data, I have got files on my computer that I've had since 2003. After my divorce in 2001, I didn't have a computer for the first couple years, so anything that I wrote was handwritten up until 2003. And then when I lived with my mother, my stepdad got me a computer, and I was able to work off of that and write conspiracy law. You might say, okay, so your external hard drive crashed. Yeah, so in 2003, I started writing conspiracy law. Now, basically, fortunately, I had a backup external hard drive that had all the conspiracy law up to about year 2019. But I've done a lot of updates since then. Even though I'm not the president, Brent does honor my conspiracy law, and he tries to enforce it, my husband Brent. So I wanted to make sure that I had the, and my website is the place where people can see the latest laws. Now, and I realized that the latest version of my conspiracy laws was on the drive that crashed. I just say it crashed because I can't. Zach Knight was telling me the only way it looks like I can get access to that is I would have to send it off to a recovery specialist. But he hasn't given me the address to do that. Fortunately, it appears that, I'm not sure what I lost. That's the sad part. I was able to I've been posting all of my conspiracy law at my website. So I went to my website and created files based off of what I published there. So I've got all that. I've got all my conspiracy law. What I do is if I write new law, I'm the vice president, but Brent and I will work together and decide, like I just wrote some new law for him because we just wanted to make sure. If you remember, when I was the president, I was thinking of becoming the supreme monarch. I actually liked the idea of working with the legislature, and I didn't want to go to war over that. So I just decided to just give up on that idea. The only reason I wanted to do that back then, was because I heard fake news that we were giving a bunch of money to Ukraine, that Congress approved a bunch of money for Ukraine. And there's actually, all the news on that is all fake news. Everything in regard to Russia, Ukraine, you need to go to Gabriel Chana, Fox News 00 on cable and at my website. And I thought, this is ridiculous. And so I wanted to be the monarch because I thought Congress was going out under me. But that wasn't true. It was all fake news. So there was no reason for me to become monarch, and I didn't want to start a civil war over that. Americans are used to the idea of democracy, and I respect that, okay? I actually like the U.S. Constitution, and I told Brent was willing to stand behind me if I wanted to become monarch, and I said, no, this isn't just, I don't want to go to war over this. I mean, there are a lot of good Americans out there that believe in this country the way it was founded, and I don't want to deal with that. But just forget it. I give up on the idea. Actually, to be honest with you, I like the idea of having senators and representatives. When I was the president, simply because being a monarch is a very demanding job, okay? And every monarch has to have a team. So, and lawmaking is very demanding, writing laws and stuff. So I gave up on that idea. So you might say, so what new law? I will say this though. I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard recently that the Congress and the Senate were trying to pass something that would require everyone to show their ID in order, allegedly, to prevent child molestation and stuff, so that you couldn't even go online without showing your driver's license. I heard this from an alternative right-wing source, which is not always reliable, but I thought, you know what, there's an easy way to deal with if this is, but he did produce the document, the legislation that was about it, so I thought maybe this is legit. So I thought there's a real simple solution to this. We don't have to install a monarchy. And Brent seemed to like this idea. What we did was we decided that I decided to give my husband, Brent, basically unlimited veto power. Almost unlimited, not quite. And that's when I noticed that my conspiracy law documents were missing. You say, what else? Another thing that I lost was my Skype transcripts from about August 2019 to September 2020. Some really important stuff happened during that time, and I didn't save that anywhere. I mean, I save all my Skype transcripts. Right after I type them, I will copy and paste them into another document. I couldn't find them anywhere, so that was lost. Fortunately, I was able to go to Skype and get an archive file. So I was able to recover it that way by going to Skype and requesting an archive file. And fortunately, but archive files for Skype are only kept for like the past 5 years. So, her allergens. So anything like before 2017, if I lost that, I would have lost it. Fortunately, I had a backup external hard drive that had all those archive files. And that made me appreciate how important. You might say, well, don't you back up everything on your computer? Well, let me just tell you, I've got 2 terabytes on my computer. And I've got a wonderful computer. Zach Knight bought it for me. It's Linux, Ubuntu. But 2 terabytes is not enough for me, the amount of work that I do on the computer. I am a big-time computer user. I actually need about 4 to 6 terabytes on the computer. My files alone take up 2 terabytes minimum, okay? And usually a computer is going to have the operating system and then the files on top of that. So yeah, so you say, how you been dealing with that? I've been working off of external hard drives, even booting off of them sometimes. I've got a whole movie collection on one external hard drive. The one that crashed was my documents. There might have been other stuff on there too. I can't remember everything that was on there. Right now, I told Zach, I was joking with him, I'll probably figure out what I lost when I need it. You know, I figured out I lost my most recent conspiracy law, but then I've recovered that by going to my website. Thank God for the website. I did lose some Skype chat transcripts, but I was able to get an archive file. The only bad thing about these Skype archive files is they're not really easy to read. You have to, and they read from the backwards forward, but it's okay. I'll be able to figure it out. It's only a year's worth that I lost. Yeah. And fortunately for me, and there were some Discord conversations which I saved on another, that I had on my main computer. So yeah, you say, what caused it to crash? We had a power failure. We've been having, Lizzo has been orchestrating a lot of power failures, okay? So the problem is whenever you shut down a computer not using the correct method, or like if you, and another reason they might have crashed is because I just learned I have not been correctly unplugging. Whenever you take an external drive off of your computer, you need to right-click on the icon in your computer and safely take it out. Yeah, so I will be doing that from now on. I'm learning more and more about the computer. I've become really good with Linux Ubuntu. You say, why did Zach put you on Linux Ubuntu? When I was on Windows, and this is when Lori was bad, Lori McBride was the Jesuit, the Antichrist was flooding the Windows updates with malware designed to freeze your computer so that it would be unusable. And what the malware was doing to my Windows operating system was already sluggish, but every time they did updates, it got really bad when they said, we're no longer going to be using Windows 7, we're updating to a totally new operating system. And when they did the update, I thought, oh, okay, I'll do this, it's free, it doesn't cost me anything. That was the mistake of my life, operating to their new operating system. Once I updated to the new operating system, you can't go back, okay? That new operating system was full of bugs. It was designed so that every time you did an update, you would get malware into your computer. And what the malware would do was, every time I did an update, I could not restart my computer without during the restart process, it would freeze right in the middle of the restart and it wouldn't go forward. That was the bug. You might say the computer, I didn't lose any data, the computer didn't really crash, but it was just stuck there in the restart and froze, and then it would just freeze and you couldn't log in. It was very clever malware. Yeah. And I told Zach, I cannot restart this computer. If I restart the computer, I won't be able to get back in. And he said, I'm going to get you a Linux Ubuntu computer and you won't have to deal with stuff like that anymore. Thank God. But then I found out that even if I didn't want to restart it, sometimes the computer would restart automatically. And it was horrible. Zach said there's only one way to beat this. He says, you just need to quit using Windows. He said, I'm going to get you a Linux. He said, I'm going to set you up for Linux Ubuntu. And that's what I have right now. And I love it because it's a little bit harder to learn, but once you learn it, it is so much more efficient. It's a little bit more work making YouTube videos and everything, but I'm really getting the hang of it. Jesuits have gotten me and Brent everywhere. And I am sticking to, I've got an August 5th deadline for my next story called Basement Concentration Camp. And I have been learning so much. The reason I can't afford to lose my transcripts, oh, by the way, this is what I bought yesterday. And I backed up. See, the problem is I've got these external hard drives. I have 3 of them that I was using. 1 for 2 terabytes and 2 for 1 terabyte each. One had videos on it, one was like pictures and other stuff, and then one had documents. The one with documents crashed. Fortunately, the others are okay. And I told myself, thank God I didn't lose the one with with all my movies. That's hours and hours of downloads of movies, okay? Oh my God, if I lost that one, it would have been, And then another one has all my backup for my entire YouTube channel, including all my walk videos, okay? I don't want to lose that either, okay? Yeah, see, like if one of my videos gets unfairly taken down, then I can post it somewhere else, at another channel, as long as I've got a copy of it. But if it gets taken down and I lose all my copies, I'm stuck. I've lost it. So I thought, I told Brent and Zach, I am going to back. I said, I just don't have room on the main computer, so I've been working off of the main computer plus my external hard drives, and I actually need about 4 terabytes for all my files. So I got this one here for 6 terabytes. I got it at Walmart yesterday. I took the bus out there because I don't have a car. I found I didn't have to go so far. There's one Walmart that's closer that has it, but anyways. So I wasn't sure it was going to work on Linux Ubuntu, but it did. The trick is, it's basically set up real easy for Windows and Apple computers. But if you want to use it on Linux, it does work. Here it What you have to do is when the the icon or whatever comes up on your computer, you right click on it and then hit format. And then the format screen comes up, and then it asks you, do you want to format this for all types, for Windows, or for Linux only? I chose Linux only. Do you want it password protected? I said, no, I'm the only one here. Right? Brent, I trust Brent, you know. he lives with me too. And once I formatted it for Linux and gave it a name, I was in business. I got in, so it worked. I wanted to use Seagate because I've got Seagate external hard drives right now, and they're working on Linux. The only problem with Linux is you've got to make sure your software is compatible with it, because the world does not completely recognize Linux, which is too bad. This is like the best bug-free operating system out there. Yeah, I am. It's taken me a while to learn it. Like, making videos is a little bit more work. You have to do all the steps, and you also use the command prompt, and sometimes you'll enter commands like a programmer, you know. But I'm learning it really good. Yeah, I use the Kdenlive video editor along with Shotcut, and yeah, these are all open source video editors. And I used to have one that was really easy to use, but it's okay. You get the hang of it after a while. It's worth it to be able to. There's one thing that I don't like about modern computer stuff and software is they are deliberately designed that after a couple years, nothing works anymore. Like this webcam that I'm using right now, I'm not sure I could still use it on Windows. Yeah. Maybe I could. It is a 2011 Logitech webcam, but I'm able to use it on Linux. I have to use the GovCView software program, and I know exactly how to set it up. Yeah, I know how to do it, okay, on Linux. But when you use like Apple or Windows, the old software, even if it still works, it's like they're not compatible with the new operating systems. They force you to buy new stuff all the time. Now, I'm one of these people, is if it works and it's not broken, why do we have to use something new? That's my attitude, you know. I feel that way about a lot of things. I don't think every newfangled thing that's coming out is necessarily better. Yeah. So anyways, I spent all day yesterday backing up tons of data. I mean, tons. It took me all day, and this morning too. But everything is backed up, and I've got it here. And about every 3 weeks or so, I'm already backing stuff up onto my external hard drives, but some of them, like if there's a crash on them, I might end up losing some stuff. But a lot of what I do in that case is I post stuff online. Like I send my men automatic updates to Gale, the complete series. So let's say it crashes, then I would just go to Skype and just download the files that I just gave to my men. So, oh God. So I told Brent and Zach, I need another backup. If I lose another external hard drive, it would jeopardize Gale the complete series, and it really does make a difference. Like, I found a gold mine while I was working. I'm right now on the year 1993. This was right after Lori McBride first drug raped Brent Spiner, and I forgot a lot of stuff from that time. But back in 2006, I wrote an unpublished book that I entitled Catherine of King David, which was basically a memoir of my life from 1957 up to 2005. And I wrote a pretty detailed description of the early 1990s and the 1990s, what I went through. And when I went back and read that, I thought, thank God I didn't lose this. This was on one of my backup files. Yes, so I read, like, I completely forgot some stuff from 1993 and 1994, and I wrote it down when I wrote that story. So yeah, I'm really getting, and getting some real insights and a new appreciation for my husband, Brent. He is incredible. The stuff he went through just because he loved me. Not only did he save me, but he's saving the world, basically. Yeah, me and Brent together, we are saving the world. But I'm getting some real insights into, so what I'm doing is I'm going back and looking at my notes or anything that I wrote on the early 1990s, rereading transcripts. I actually did an in-depth interview of my husband, Brent Spiner, in 2012, asking him all sorts of questions as I was researching for my movie, Brent Spiner's Rape, and I told him I might make other movies after that. Instead of movies, I'm gonna let my Hollywood friends make the movies, because I'm just extremely busy doing the Gale Commandments and researching. My job is writer, okay? And then I give my short stories to my men, and then they give them to our screenwriters, who are Melinda Snodgrass, Orson Scott Card, Jane Agnew, and probably some others. Brent Spiner is the executive producer of Gale, the Complete Series. So I'm very, very busy between doing the Gale Commandments, keeping this place looking nice. Yesterday, I wanted to make sure I didn't lose my valuable research material. See, as I go forward, I have to research. The problem is, like right now, in this current story, there's a believability problem. Because the rape that happened in September 1992 was almost unbelievable. I mean, how many people are going to believe that Brent was actually raped by an elephant? But it did happen. And then how was it that Lori was able, in spite of the fact that Brent was locking all his doors, putting bars on his windows, hiring bodyguards, she was able to actually eventually move into his house and attain girlfriend status when he never wanted this. And it just and then Paramount was part of the conspiracy. It's just like, I was thinking, and then LeVar Burton actually killed the first Laurie McBride clone. And then she just came back to life. And I thought, Brent, didn't you believe in the existence of clones back then? And he said, no, I just thought she was invincible and she could do anything. So I've got I've got a believability problem. So I've had to do a lot of research to make this true story believable. And the research is coming up with some very fascinating things. Yeah, I do believe, as a result of my research, I think there's only one way, because Brent said she would just appear in his house and he locked the doors. I think he had an alarm system. It's like she outsmarted the alarm system. She outsmarted the bars. I mean, she was able to. She did use a baseball bat to bash into his bedroom window and then jump in there, and it was just wild. I'm going to establish that I do believe they use something called the Star Trek transporter technology. Has been in existence for years. See, they use technology that is top secret, and it's like they have an exclusive patent on it, and they get it from their UFO friends. So yeah, I'm going to be showing this. Reading this story is almost like reading a science fiction novel. But even with science fiction and fantasy writing, which this is a true story, but I can see why Melinda Snodgrass and Orson Scott Card would be perfect screenwriters for this, because it's almost like a science fiction book. When you have, I just know this from studying writing, when you write a fantasy or science fiction, and I'm not writing either, okay? But the point is, you got to have certain rules and to make the story believable. And even though it's a true story, yeah, that's where the research comes in. And then the other question is, why would Laurie McBride want a man who can't stand her? Okay? And I'm going to be going into that as well. It's kind of complicated, but I'm pulling it off really good because, as Buddha says, I'm a talented writer. So Yeah, this has been a really busy week for me, and I still have a lot of writing to do. Today's YouTube video day, but yeah, I definitely do not want to lose my research, okay? I've got 100 stories planned as right now, and I plan on finishing in about 3 or 4 years. I plan on writing one every 2 weeks, a new one. And they've got a television series off of this, so I feel like it's like I'm working a job, like I'm working from home, but I'm working a job, you know. And basically, this is my job for Jesus because He's the one who assigned me this project. Yeah. But yeah, I am so happy that I got everything backed up now. Yeah. Yeah. I do have a fireproof safe, but it's not big enough for this. So I'm just going to keep it in that. I'm keeping it in there for right now. And about every 3 weeks, I'll be moving some important files over to that. I'm already back. That's my second backup. Okay. I'm already backing stuff up onto my external hard drives. Yeah. So, yeah. I just, that was a lot of work, let me tell you. Yeah, you might say, why don't you do an online backup? Zach said he might do that, but I'm not sure if this is true or not, but I think the Jesuits are taking Gale, the complete series, to court, and they're claiming that I didn't write it, that Brent wrote it, because my insights have been so brilliant. I've actually had to create scenes in order to make it believable what really happened. Yeah, I've had to create scenes because the nature of the rape was unbelievable. I mean, the stuff Laurie McBride did, it's like she was totally crazy. And, you know, as a writer and happening to know about characterization, it's almost like reading a farce, you know? When I try to portray these real life events, and I need to establish her motivation, I have pretty much, as a result of my research and years of experience in dealing with Laurie McBride and with Jesuits, I think I have figured out what was motivating her. It's kind of complicated to explain, but Jesuits are a unique breed, okay? They're like a race in and of themselves. They're Satan followers, okay? Satan is their leader, and they're almost like their own race. And so, but to really understand them is kind of complicated. But I'm doing a good job. So anyways, let me just go ahead and get my YouTube video out for this week. And I am so glad that I got this. Yeah. My camera's acting funny on me too. It's like all my electronics all of a sudden are acting weird, you know. So, yeah, but it's working good for now. The problem right now with getting a replacement camcorder is I do take the bus, and the only place around here that sells camcorders that I think would be compatible with my Linux is Best Buy, and they don't open until 10 o'clock. Do you know what the temperature is like at 10 o'clock if I took the bus? So saying, camera, please last until the cooler weather shows up. Yeah. I thought this is terrible timing that all my electronics are going kaput in the hot summer months. In the winter, I can go take the bus at 10 o'clock, no problem, okay? Summer? You might say, well, there, isn't the bus air conditioned? It is, but walking to and from the bus stop and waiting at the bus stop is not air conditioned, and it is hot. Okay, so anyways, let me go ahead and post my walk video for today. Then I'm going to get some more work done on Gale, the complete series. Yeah, I figured out all sorts of stuff. Yeah. I do believe that Laurie got into his house using something like Star Trek transporter technology. It's the only way she could have done it. You might say, well, maybe the Jesuits made a copy of his house keys. That would be primitive technology for a Jesuit. Yeah. They loved using secret UFO technology which nobody knows about. That way they can get away with all sorts of stuff and surprise you because you don't know it. We figured out their transporter technology during the Quebec trial when they used that to rescue the Laurie McBride clones from our execution chamber. And then, yeah, my husband actually got abducted by a UFO. Let me tell you something. As a result of writing this story, I have a lot of respect for my husband. He is a real inspiration for me. Sometimes I feel like I'm overwhelmed, like I don't have time to do all this. And then I think, how does my husband find the time to do everything? I'm thinking, if he can do it, so can I. Our IQ's about even. So I'm just going to do it. I am the great niece of Howard Hughes. Half King David, half Catherine the Great. I have a tendency, I was raised by a narcissist mother who made me feel inferior, and I have a tendency to underestimate what I'm capable of doing. And I need to stop doing that because Jesus needs me to write this story. This means a lot to him. Yeah, the Gale shield gets weak when I quit working on it.